Good morning, students. Welcome to the National University online class. During this pandemic, I feel proud to be the part of this National University online class lecture as a resource person. Please maintain the health rules. Our subject is English. This program is for BA Honors First Year students. Our course code is 211101. Name of course, English Reading Skills. This is first lecture. Title of the lecture is Reading, How to Improve Reading Skills. And I am here with you, Khandokar Mushir Rahman, Assistant Professor, Gaibandha Government College, Gaibandha. I hope you all are fine today to attend the class, the very first class. And you know, English Reading Skills is an important course in your honors first year because many of our students have English phobia. That means they feel hesitation to read English. As you are already the students of English department, you must recover all of your weakness regarding English. So this course is designed to improve your reading skills. Now today we are going to learn about what is reading, different types of reading, purposes or benefits of reading, how to improve reading skills, and of course, at the end we will have some home tasks. So let's think, what is reading? Before looking at the answer, you think yourself for 10 seconds. Can you get any idea about reading? Let's see. There are some definitions of reading. What is reading? Reading is the process of looking at a series of written symbols and getting meaning from them. When we read, we use our eyes to receive written symbols like letters, punctuation marks, and spaces, and we use our brain to convert them into words, sentences, and paragraphs that communicate something to us. So this is one definition of reading. You see, reading is the process of looking at a series of written symbols and getting meaning from them. So when we read, we look at some symbols and we get meaning from them. This is the gist of this definition. There is another definition here. Before going to the definition, we see reading can be silent in our head. That means when we read for ourselves silently, or it may be allowed. Reading may be allowed so that other people can hear. Reading is the complex cognitive process of decoding symbols to derive meaning. It is a form of language processing. Success in this process is measured as reading comprehension. Reading is a means for language acquisition, communication, and sharing information and ideas. So you see, reading is a complex cognitive process. You know, cognitive means related to brain. That means it happens, the process, it happens in our brain. Decoding symbols. What does it mean? Decoding symbols? Have any idea? Decode, to get meaning, decode. Code means to give meaning and decode means to get meaning from something. So when we receive meaning, when we try to get meaning from any symbols, that is decoding. Reading is the complex cognitive process of decoding symbols to derive meaning. So from symbols, like the first definition, from symbols, when we read from symbols, we get some meaning. It's a form of language processing. So reading is a process, language processing. It's one kind of language processing that happens in our brain. Success in this process is measured. How we measure, reading skills. We know there is reading comprehension passes. That is the meaning here. Success in this process is measured as reading comprehension. Reading is a means for language acquisition, communication, and sharing information and ideas. So reading is a way, means way. We read for language acquisition. We read so that we can make better communication. We read so that we can share our information and ideas. So let us see another definition of reading. Reading is an interactive process between the reader and the writer. So it's an interactive process between the reader and the writer. Brunan W.K. in 1989, for instance, defines reading as a two-way interaction in which information is exchanged between the reader and the author. So this is, according to Brunan, reading is a two-way interaction in which information is exchanged between the reader and the author. Smith in 1973 also shares the same attitude. This is proved by his line. This is the quotation of Smith. He said, reading is an act of communication in which information is transferred from transmitter to a receiver. You see, he has used very nice word, a transmitter to a receiver. Who is the transmitter? The writer is the transmitter here. So reading is an act of communication in which information is transferred from a transmitter, means writer, to the reader. Receiver means your reader. So there are some definitions. I think you have got idea about what is reading now. Let's see different types of reading. The four main types of reading are the following: like skimming, scanning, intensive reading, and extensive reading. So what is skimming? What is scanning? Do you have any idea? Intensive reading or extensive reading? I think some of you, of course, have some idea about skimming or scanning, and intensive reading also. Let's see the definition. Skimming is sometimes referred to as gist reading. The meaning is that when we read a passage or a story quickly to get the gist, I mean main idea or subject matter of the story, we read quickly, that is skimming. Skimming is sometimes referred to as gist reading. Gist means main theme or idea. Skimming may help in order to know what the text is about at its most basic level. I mean, skimming is a quick reading. By this quick reading, we can get the gist or the idea about the content of the story or passage. You might typically do this with a magazine or newspaper and would help you mentally and quickly shortlist those articles which you might consider for a deeper read. The meaning is that usually when we read magazine or newspaper, we do skimming first. We look at the headline very quickly, and the headline which we find interest, those stories we read. Otherwise, we don't read the story fully. So when we look at the headlines of a newspaper, we do skimming. You might typically skim to search for a name in a telephone directory. That is another example. Perhaps you are looking a name in your telephone directory, a name of someone to make a call. So then you are skimming, you are quickly looking the name or the particular number. Comprehension is of course very low. During skimming, when we skim in this reading, comprehension means understanding is of course very low, and understanding of overall content very superficial. That means not deeper. They're very superficial understanding by skimming, because when we are skimming, we are reading very quickly, and we are not giving attention in every details of the story. That's why our understanding is very superficial here. Next is scanning. Scanning is also a quick reading, but it's different. When we do scan, look at the meaning here. Scanning involves getting your eyes to quickly scuttle across a sentence and is used to get just a simple piece of information. That means when we are reading very quickly just for a specific information, that is scanning. Interestingly, the research has concluded that reading off a computer screen actually inhibits the pathways to effective scanning, and thus reading of paper is far more conducive to speedy comprehension of texts. So when we read the computer screen, sometimes we do scan. We look for a specific information and we read very quickly. We don't go every word to word or every sentence to sentence. Just we go for a specific information and we give a quick reading. That is scanning. During scanning, sometimes students do not give enough importance to its illustrations. Something students sometimes do not give enough importance to its illustrations, but this should be included in your scanning. Pay special attention to introduction and conclusion. When you are reading a passage for comprehension, you must pay special attention to the introduction and the conclusion. Have you got idea? I think you have got idea by this time about skimming and scanning. Don't mess up. I mean, skimming is, you know, a quick reading, and scanning is also a quick reading, but we skim to have a general idea, I mean, a gist of the story or passage, but we scan for a particular or specific information. Now, intensive reading. You need to have your aims clear in mind when undertaking intensive reading. So what is intensive reading? When we are reading for every details, when we are going through a text with every details to get the meaning of the story fully, then this type of reading is called intensive reading. For you need to have your aims clear in mind, why you are reading a text, why you are reading a story, that you should have the aim before undertaking this intensive reading. Remember, this is going to be far more time consuming than scanning or skimming. Of course, as you are going for when you are going for intensive reading, you are going for every details. That's why you will need more time than scanning or skimming. If you need to list the chronology of events in a long passage, you will need to read intensively. For example, you are reading a story or passage and there are a lot of events and you want to make a chronology of those events. I mean, sequentially, you would like to arrange with mentioning the time of those events. At the time, you need to read intensively. This type of reading helps you understand the vocabulary by deducing the meaning of words in context. As you know, each and every word has two types of meaning. One meaning is dictionary meaning or literal meaning. Another meaning is contextual meaning. So sometimes when we read a passage, the words get different meaning than its literal meaning or dictionary meaning. So we have to understand the contextual meaning. We have to understand the meaning of the word from the context. It moreover helps with retention of information for long periods of time, and knowledge resulting from intensive reading persists in your long-term memory. Have you got the meaning? It means intensive reading, through intensive reading, what information we receive or what knowledge we gather, that remains in our memory longer than skimming or scanning. This is one reason why reading huge amounts of information just before an exam does not work very well. Students tend to do this and they undertake neither type of reading process effectively, especially neglecting intensive reading. Have you got the idea? This happens for many of our students. They don't read all the year round. Before exam, they sit for reading and they try to finish all the courses at a single night before the exam. And they read voraciously without following any reading process. And finally, what happens? They might do, you see, they may remember the answers in an exam, but will likely forget everything soon afterwards. Through this process, or in this way, they might do well in the exam, but just after the exam, they will forget everything. They will not retain any knowledge or information. Extensive reading. So this reading is for pleasure. Extensive reading involves reading for pleasure. Because there is an element of enjoyment in extensive reading, it is unlikely that students will undertake extensive reading of a text they do not like. So, it is true that the text which you don't like, you will not feel to read it. So, you must have interest for reading. So, you will read if you find pleasure in reading any text, so you will like to read the text. It also requires a fluid decoding and assimilation of the text and content in front of you. That means when you are reading a text or reading a story, so there are some ideas and knowledge that should be decoded. But that means you should gather some ideas or understand. I mean, you need to understand the text. If the whole text remains very difficult to you, you cannot understand anything, it seems to be Greek to you, so you will not feel to read it. So the text should be like that. You can understand something of the text and you enjoy it. And you can associate, assimilation means you can associate your own ideas with the ideas and knowledge of the text. In that case, you will find interest to read the text. If the text is difficult and you stop every few minutes to figure out what is being said or to look up new words in the dictionary, you are breaking your concentration and diverting your thoughts. That is the meaning, actually. Because if the text is very difficult and you need to look for the word meaning in every sentence, so you will not find interest to read the text at one moment. You will lose your concentration and you will stop reading. So these are the four types of reading. Can you remember now four types of reading just we have discussed now? Skimming, scanning, intensive reading, and extensive reading. Okay, now we are going to learn why do we read? What are the purposes of reading? Major purposes for reading include to learn, you see, major purposes for reading include to learn, to be entertained, or to further your understanding of something. So these are the major purposes of reading. We read to learn something. We read to be entertained, I mean to get pleasure, or to further your understanding. That means we read to enhance our understanding of something. Some of the advantages of reading include gaining a deeper understanding of a text, increasing reading comprehension, expanding your vocabulary, and improving your own writing skills. So you see, reading also improves our writing skills because through reading we learn, we enrich our vocabulary, we enrich our knowledge about sentence structure that helps us to improve our writing also. So the benefits of reading you can see at a glance here. There are some benefits of reading. Of course, you know some of the benefits, I think. Check now, match your idea about what are the benefits of reading. Reading is good for your brain. You see, reading is good for your brain. But what happens actually, many of us don't like to read sometimes. And that's a bad habit actually with our students. Generally, you see the students who are very much habituated to read, I mean, who like to read, actually they are very knowledgeable students, or they are very informative persons in our society. So we have to grow our reading habit. So reading is good for your brain. Reading introduces you to new ideas and invites you to solve problems. Reading makes you a better writer. You see, if you want to be a good writer, you have to be a good reader also. Reading improves your conversational skills. If you want to speak well, if you want to be a good orator, I mean a speaker, you should have the reading habits also. Reading improves your conversational skills, speaking skills. Reading strengthens worldview and convictions, your idea about different things, different doctrines, and different cultures of the world, different country of the world. It strengthens and enhances. It enlarges your outlook about the world and different doctrines of the world, different theories of the world. Reading improves your self-discipline and consistency also. Reading increases your knowledge of history. By reading, you can learn about world history, your country history, and history of the world. Reading increases cultural knowledge. It's very important, you see. culture knowledge without an expensive plane flight. You need to make a plane flight, I mean journey from Bangladesh to USA or Australia, because by reading without visiting them physically, by reading you can gain knowledge about their culture also. Reading their literature, reading their books. Reading challenges your imagination. So reading challenges your imagination. That means actually reading expands your imagination, your imagination power. Reading increases your skill in an area of interest. Reading inspires you. Reading reduces your stress. That is last but not least. It's very important, you see. If you want to remove your stress in our practical life, in our everyday life, sometimes we become under stress, mental stress. So if we want to remove our stress, we should have the reading habit. We can sit with books for reading. So reading also helps us to remove our stress, mental stress. Now, how to improve reading skills? That is very important. And I would like to suggest you must try to follow these steps. As the student of honors first year, is the very beginning. You should not be afraid of English. Rather, you will approach English boldly with these techniques so that you can improve your reading skills, and you will remove your fear of reading. You'll be a good reader. When you'll be a good reader, you'll be a good speaker, you'll be a good writer also. Remember it. So these are the tips. You can try to improve your reading skills, and you have to as a student of English department, because it is very shocking when we see many students after completion of their honors in English, they cannot read fluently in English text. That's very shocking. So I'd like to say that you will not be that type of students if you follow these steps. First one, always make a special time to read. As a student of English, if you want to improve your reading skills, you must make a special time to read. Reading for fun can be done anywhere. You could take a fun book out on a bus, in bed, or at your college, and you can enjoy it. For focused reading, follow these steps. What you can do for focused reading, find a quiet, comfortable spot with bright lighting to sit. Get everything you might need ready before you sit down. For example, you might want to have a pen, your notebook, a dictionary, and something to drink. Decide how long you will read. That means you have to fix a time. 30 minutes is a good minimum amount of time. Put all your electronics on silent mode or turn them off and put them away. Turning off the sound on your electronics might not seem important, but it's something you really must do. Have you got it? Why it's important? Because when you are reading, if your mobile phone, if there is a call in your mobile phone, or if there is any electronic device on, so you cannot give concentration, full concentration to your reading. That's why you must keep your electronic device off so that you can read with full attention. Read the right books. That's important to improve your reading skills. When you are choosing books and other texts to read, keep two things in mind: what you are interested in and your reading level. The meaning is that whenever you can, you should read things that you enjoy. You should also choose books that are at an English level just above the one you are most comfortable with. You want to challenge yourself just enough to learn new things, but not enough to get frustrated with your reading. What is the meaning here? The meaning is that you have to choose a book that you are interested in. If you don't find any interest with the book, you will not like to read it. Another thing you need to keep in mind, the level, you should maintain the level. The book should not be so easy for you so that you know everything of the book. So if you read the book again and again, you cannot gather anything new from the book. So at least just above the one, that means above your level, just one step more than your level, so that you can get some new words, new ideas from the book. You have to choose the book like this for your reading. Ask yourself questions while reading and after reading. There are a few things you can do before, during, and after reading. These are named actually pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading. So there are a few things you can do to improve your reading skills. Before, I mean, pre-reading stage, while reading stage, and after reading, I mean, post-reading stage, to help you better understand the text. Before you read, browse the text. That means you should look over the text quickly without actually reading every word. Take some time after you read too to browse again and summarize what you remember. Try to quickly say or write a few sentences that describe what the text was about. Have you got it? So when you are reading, you have to think. At the first reading, you are reading quickly. You are not giving. You are going to read actually every word, and you should take time after reading. And again, you read and summarize what you remember, how much you can remember after first reading of the text. That you need to think. Try to quickly say or write a few sentences after first reading that describe what the text was about. So here are some questions that you can practice. Before you read, here are a few questions you can ask yourself as you browse to help you prepare for reading. Before you start reading, you, you may ask these questions. Are there any words in bold or italics? Are there titles or subtitles in the passage? What are some of the names mentioned there? Is there a lot of dialogue? Are the paragraphs short or long? So these are the questions you may ask before starting reading. After you read, the questions below can be used to help you think about what you did and did not understand. After reading, you may ask these questions. What was the text about? What are the most important things that happened in the text? Did anything confuse you? Did anything surprise you? Are there any parts you didn't understand? So these are the questions that you may ask after reading the passage, and that will help you to understand the text and improve your reading skills. 4 tips. Improve fluency first. To improve your reading skills, you should think about your fluency first. Because some of our students don't like to read because they stammer when they read. They cannot read fluently. That's why they don't like to read. So at the first stage, you have to remove your shyness, you have to remove your hesitation, and you have to grow your fluency. While reading an entire article or even book like this, if you stop after every word, it would be difficult to understand, would not it? Of course. It's hard to form an understanding of what you are reading when you read word by word instead of in full sentences. That's why to improve your understanding, it's important to improve your fluency first, that I said already. Improving fluency Improving fluency can be as simple as choosing slightly easier texts to read, or it might take some time and practice. If you take some time to improve how fluently you read, you will improve your reading and even your speaking. It will also make reading feel more fun and natural. Have you got it? The meaning? If you want to improve your fluency, how you have to start? You have to start with a slightly easier text, easier book, so that you can easily understand. You find interest to read it. So you have to start with easier texts at the beginning, and later on you will go one step further. It might take some time and practice. So if you read some text for some days, after some days you will see that you feel very easier comfort to read the text and any other texts also. And for example, if you start reading English newspaper at the first, you might not understand anything. But if you go on reading 1 week, 2 week, and the third week, you see you are getting familiar with the words and you are getting some meaning of the, stories of the newspaper. So this is the actually habit you have to practice. And finally, what will happen? If you practice on this, it will improve your reading and of course speaking also, because you will enrich your vocabulary. It will also make reading feel more fun and natural. So at one moment, at one stage, you will find it very natural. It will not be any discomfort for you to read any news stories or any English newspapers or books. Once you have learned to speed up, slow down. Have you got it? When you have got your fluency, now you have to slow down. To improve your fluency, you were asked to read very quickly without giving importance each and every word. Just look at the pronunciation of the word and how fast you can read with correct pronunciation. That is the style of improving your fluency. But when you have got your fluency, then you have to slow down. That means now you have to give time to understand the story. After you learn English reading more fluently, you can stop worrying about your speed because you have already gained your fluency. Now you start thinking about the text and its meaning. So you see, when you have got your fluency, then you have to think about the content of the text or meaning of the text. How you can read? To slow yourself down or read out aloud. So this is one technique. When you have been very fast in reading English books or stories, then if you want to get the meaning or content of the text, I mean profoundly, deeply, at the time you have to slow down yourself. How can you do it? You start reading aloud, because when we read aloud, we cannot read so fast. That's the technique to slow down yourself. Ask lots of questions. The more you question what you read, the deeper you get into the meaning. So the more question you can make, you will get the meaning of the context so easily or so comfortably. Asking questions is also a good way to make sure you understand what you are reading. Asking questions like what's happening now or who is speaking here can help keep you focused. Asking questions like why did he do that or what is she thinking can help you think deeper into the story. So these are the examples, this type of questions. It depends on the story or passage. What are you reading? What type of information are there? You can ask this type of questions. You have to read it again. There is a quotation of a great personality. The poet Ezra Pound says that with books, no reader ever read anything the first time he saw it. What is the meaning? The meaning is that the first reading is not a reading actually, it's just seeing, according to Ezra Pound, a great poet. He said that read first reading. No reader ever read anything the first time he saw it. That means the first reading is just seeing, it's not getting meaning. Sometimes reading a text just once is not enough to understand it. It happens for us also. When we read a text, sometimes we cannot understand. If we read it second time, we can get some meaning. If we give the third reading to the text, we can understand better than the first or second one. This is true if you are reading something difficult, or even if you are not, reading something more than once can help you understand it much better. So this is true. If we read a text twice, thrice, we can get a better understanding of the text. Read many kinds of texts. So you have to read many kinds of texts. If you confine yourself within only your textbooks or study guides, that will not develop your reading skills actually. That's why many of the students do this mistake. They only, look for the question answers or study guides to make good result. But actually, what happens? They don't develop their reading skills, and finally, they don't feel comfort to read. They don't grow the habit of reading. As a result, they cannot enrich themselves with knowledge. So we have to read different type of books. Today, we don't just read books and newspapers. We read blogs, emails, tweets, and texts. The more you read anything in English, the better you will get at the language. So the more you read anything in English, the better you will get at the language. Because the more, if you read more and more, you will enrich your vocabulary. So if you have a good vocabulary, that will help you to understand the English text. Don't just read books and news. Read anything and everything. Find a magazine that you enjoy. That is the technique. How can you start your reading? Find a magazine that you enjoy. Follow some interesting people or websites on Facebook, or visit a blog you like reading. So you should start like this. And if last but not least, number 9, improve your vocabulary. That's the thing. You need to improve your vocabulary to develop your reading skills. To improve your vocabulary, what you can do? You should learn synonyms, antonyms, and practice with changing of word class using prefix and suffix. That's a technique to improve your uh, vocabulary. So you see, these are the steps. Have a, just at a glance, try to see those steps actually. Always make a special time to read the right books, ask yourself questions while reading and after reading. These are the questions we discussed. And improve fluency first. So without any hesitation, you have to keep reading first fluently. And then when you have got your fluency, you have to slow down. That means try to now understand the text. And you have to ask a lot of questions while you are reading to get the content properly of the text. And you have to read again. Just one reading is not enough for your understanding any text. If you get twice, thrice reading, especially for comprehension passage, you need to read at least, twice, and even sometimes thrice to get the answers of all the questions. Because just first reading is just like seeing, it's not reading actually, according to Ezra Pound. Now, read many kinds of texts. Number 8 tips and number 9 tips, improve your vocabulary. So we are by this time we are familiar with reading. So can you think what you have learned today? Just we have discussed about what is reading, purpose of reading, different types of reading, and how to improve our reading skills. In this first class, I tried to give you some idea how you can develop your reading skills. So I think you will follow these steps to improve your reading skills, and you will be benefited, of course. So as a home task, you should do some work at home. After attending my class, you must do some works as I suggest you. After this class, you must read any story or passage from your storybooks or newspaper articles and prepare some questions on the text. After reading a piece of passage or after reading 2 or 3 passages of an article, you try to make some questions yourselves on the text. If you can make some questions on the text, it means that you have understood some of the ideas or informations that is available in the text, so that's why you can make questions. So making questions is a technique to improve your reading skills also. So thank you for attending the class. In our next classes, we'll try to actually finish according to the National University. We are going to have at least 10 lectures to finish this course, English reading skills. I hope you will attend all the classes and try to improve your reading skills. So keep in touch with online lecture of National University. Thank you again for attending the class. Stay home, stay safe, pray for all. I hope to see you again. Thank you.